Okay, everyone, we have a lot to get into today, so let's just get started, shall we? I wasn't even really sure where I wanted to start this video because there's a lot to talk about here, like I said. There is a problem in leftist spaces, especially leftist spaces online, where white leftists, particularly, have issues responding to and dealing with concerns raised by black leftists or marginalized groups in general. And this has been especially an issue online in leftist spaces, and it's come up recently in Hassan Piker's stream and in his chat. It's very hard right now to give any genuine criticism of the left, especially from a position of a black person, without being called a wrecker or being accused of being a CIA agent or something to that accord. This has been going on for a while, but it seems to me like it's definitely gotten worse in the last few months. And I guess the funniest part to me is not only that the left is not necessarily powerful, it doesn't have motion. So the insinuation that the CIA is trying to infiltrate and break up the left is funny, but also historically, the people who have been targeted by those sorts of operations have been black Americans. And so for white leftists to turn around and make that accusation of black people who are trying to raise genuine concerns in the modern era feels especially disgusting to me. So when it comes to the topic of leftist spaces online, I have to be honest with you and say that as a black woman, I don't feel comfortable in really any space online fully. I don't feel fully comfortable giving my opinion. I don't feel fully comfortable giving my thoughts on things or raising concerns on certain aspects because of the reaction that I will likely get from people, from white leftists who claim to be allies, who then turn around and are perhaps even racist in their reaction to my criticism. Now, to Hassan's credit, he does acknowledge that he needs to do better and foster a better environment in his chat when it comes to this topic and these sorts of things. But the reason I ended up making this video wasn't necessarily because of that. It was more so because of QTCinderella and Ludwig and the recent events surrounding them, because I do think that they are a good example of people who likely consider themselves to be allies, consider themselves to be more to the left, maybe not leftists necessarily or anything like that. Ludwig has said he is a capitalist, so there you go. But I wouldn't call them right wingers, you know? But QTCinderella recently did a live stream and then she had the people involved delete their VODs, which was a bold choice on her part. I just think that didn't look great. Especially since the internet is forever anyways, babe. People clipped that shit already. Like, it's just so pointless. It was so silly. You might as well just leave it up so people can actually go and see directly what you said and can just go to the source. But fine, she deleted it. And she went on a rant, I guess, about being charitable to people because people were criticizing her for who she was hanging out with. And the fact that she can't really seem to handle this criticism as she has been blocking people and it's just been very messy over there. I don't want to get too much into the drama of it, but it's certainly been interesting. But again, this is someone who I think would consider herself more to the left, further away from being a right winger. I am familiar with QTCinderella. I am familiar with her upbringing to some degree. And I did want to just discuss the wider aspect of charitability and who you spend your time with, right? Who you decide to give chances to. Because I don't think that being charitable is a bad thing. I do think that there is some logic to the whole you can't isolate people, you can't alienate them when they have these certain beliefs if you want them to change their minds. But if you refuse to listen to minorities, to black and brown people who have criticisms, and you refuse to take their views and their positions into mind, then you're not really going to be equipped to counter the beliefs, the thoughts of these people you are trying to change. If you're someone who doesn't even have the ability to consider and comprehend the opinions of the marginalized groups you are claiming to defend, you are claiming to be an ally to, how can you educate others? How can you teach others not to have these beliefs if you don't understand where they're coming from, how they work, how they got here to begin with? You may think you do, but if you don't understand the complexities of it from the position of a black person, from the lived experiences of a black person, and you refuse to listen to them, then you're not going to be in a position to do any real change or any real good. It'll be marginal. If the goal is to get someone to stop punching me in the face, you're only going to really get them to pull their punches a little bit. You're going to get them to maybe every now and again they'll hesitate when they throw their punch. You're not going to get them to stop. And how many punches to the face am I expected to take while you try to change their mind? How long am I expected to have a community with this person while they are actively hurting me and hurting people like me? And I'm supposed to just wait until they change their mind, until you can get them to change their mind. That's not really a satisfactory outcome. I'm not saying this is an easy thread to walk. I don't think it is. It's very difficult to determine when you need to leave somebody alone, when you need to let it go. But if you don't listen to marginalized groups at all, if you just block them when they try and communicate with you their concerns, then I can only assume that you think that you know everything, you know exactly what you need to do, when in reality, you're not equipped, you're not prepared to do the job that you've set out to do. As a content creator, I do think you have a responsibility to decide what you want your community to be like and whether or not you're going to make it a safe place for black and brown people, for minorities, for queer people, for whoever. If you're going to allow people who have racist and homophobic and harmful opinions to sit at the table and break bread with them, then the marginalized groups in your community are going to react to that. They are going to have opinions of that, and they're going to make assumptions based on that. They're going to make assumptions of you based on that. And something that I personally find across the board in these situations is that these supposed white allies cannot deal with the fact that they are being perceived as possibly racist or homophobic or as not being hard on that behavior as they want to be. They don't like the image that comes with being charitable, that comes with being accepting to people who hold harmful views of minorities, of marginalized groups. That to me seems to almost always be the key that triggers this response from them. It's that they realize that they are being perceived as possibly racist or homophobic or whatever, and they don't want that, but they also don't want to stop being charitable. They don't want to cut people off. They don't want to make that hard decision to remove someone from their life because it's a hard decision. It's difficult. And they'd rather go the easy route and believe that they can change and advocate for them to change and let people think that they have changed, as opposed to making the hard choice to separate from that person. And I do think that to some degree, that action in and of itself can be a wake-up call for people, because I do think shame, I do think consequences is something that can, in things like racism and things like bigotry, shame is a part of making them realize that those things are bad. You have to tell them that those things are bad. And I don't mean like bully them or anything, but let them know, hey, that's fucked up. That's a shitty thing to do. Don't say that. And if they continue to say that, you remove yourself from them. You remove them from the community. You separate yourself from them. There's only so much you can do before you are actively saying I'm willing to put this person over the well-being of the community, the well-being of my marginalized fans, because I want to possibly rehabilitate this person. And ultimately, again, it is just hard for them to deal with the judgment that comes with making that choice until they themselves become associated with the racism, with the homophobia, with the bigotry, and then they lash out. They block people. They go on rants and try to make it up like we're the bad guys because we dared question why you might be giving so much charitability to someone who is so harmful. I don't really engage in any online community much these days, whether it be Hassan's chat or somewhere else. I mostly just don't feel fully safe in any of them. As a black woman, as a queer person, it's just, no thank you. Especially online, it is just always hard to gauge someone's opinions, someone's views, and at least in person, you have social cues to go off of, etc. But overall, I do at least want to make my channel a fairly safe space for everybody. While I may be charitable to people from time to time, I do have an overall goal of making this someplace that is safe and not hostile towards black and brown people, marginalized groups, queer people, because there's enough of that online and I don't wish to contribute to that in any way, shape, or form. Other than that, I don't have much else to say about this topic right now. Maybe something will come to mind and I'll make another video, but for now, I am going to table this here. Again, I did think QTCinderella's response has been very interesting, and it's not one that I haven't seen before. And then the response of content creators around her, I don't even know who this one person is, but they have been going crazy on this. Like, also, apparently they still say the R slur, so that's another thing that they are like admitting. And it's just, these are the kinds of people you bring into your orbit when you don't have hard convictions and hard stances on the things that you care about, and you don't have a better understanding of how these things work. You end up with people like this. And I personally don't really want these people in my community. Maybe that's a crazy thing for me to say. I'm not saying they can't change and grow, but as it stands right now, I'm not sure this is the place for them to do that. Ultimately, it comes down to, I guess, how you want to manage your own community online and how you want to manage your own space, and that's fine, but people are going to judge you for how you do that, and you need to learn how to handle that. And it does seem to me that QTCinderella has not actually learned how to handle that somehow, which is kind of fascinating, but that's a topic for a whole other day, I think. Other than that, I appreciate you guys watching this far. If you liked this video, please give it a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, maybe hit that notification bell. Is that a thing? I don't know. Hit it all. Hit all of it. Follow me on Twitter. One last thing before I let you go. People love to use Sudan as a gotcha. They do it to Hassan, for example, all the time, and basically anybody who's talking about Palestine. They'll use one atrocity to attack someone for talking about another one, which is just disgusting and truly despicable. Honestly, you are a shell of a person if that is the tactic you are resorting to. Hassan admits that he's not as educated on that subject, and I think it's fine for him to not talk about something that he is not as educated on. I think it's in fact a good thing for him to reserve talking about something rather than giving out false information. On top of that, there are only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many things you can get to in that time. I personally do not know much about it either, which is why I've been thinking about possibly doing a sort of research stream. I like to research things on my own and look shit up all the time, and I thought maybe it would be interesting to try and do it on stream with you guys or something, because then we can all learn together, because I'm sure there are people who don't know much about what's happening in Sudan as well. I have a little bit of knowledge, but I'd love to learn more, and maybe you would too. So if that sounds interesting to you, if that sounds like something you'd maybe want to do, let me know and I will plan something, but I'd like to know if people are actually interested in it. Do let me know. and we'll get back to that later. We'll put a pin in it. Other than that, I am going to wrap this video up here. Again, like, comment, subscribe, hit all that shit, and I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself. Free Palestine, free Sudan, and goodbye.